LaGuardia Airport is such a unique airport, and I've made a lot of videos about it, but for this video, I'm going to go beyond LaGuardia and show you how the airspace around the airport affects flights in the sky. There are so many examples of this, but today I'm focusing on the flight I'm on and the planes around it. So come fly with me from LaGuardia Airport, which is currently undergoing a massive rebuild.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I am at LaGuardia Airport, Terminal D. Today I'm flying to Minneapolis, and I'm excited about the fact that today my aircraft should be flying on the Pelham climb off of runway 4 at LaGuardia. That means some great views of the Bronx, and you're going to come along with me. Now, this is not the very first time that I brought the Pelham climb to my channel. I've recently flown on this climb out, and I sat on the left-hand side of the aircraft. For this flight, I've chosen a seat on the right-hand side of the airplane to show you what the view is like on that side. And of course, as I always do, I check the wind before I make my seat selection. It looks like the wind today is coming from pretty much due north, which calls for a departure off of runway 4. And I am correct, runway 4 is the departure runway, and runway 31 is the arrival runway today.
With runway 31 as the arrival runway 4 departures need to be sequenced between arrivals because the two runways intersect. Sometimes things don't always go as planned. You'll see what I mean as we near takeoff later in this video.
Today, the departure procedure calls for a pretty much straight out runway heading departure. And once we get about maybe 10 miles or so north of the airport, ATC is going to issue us a left-hand turn. Our initial departure fix is going to be Gale. Okay, I'm done with my plane spotting on this side of the terminal, and I'm going to work my way over to the original D gates where my aircraft awaits. Niagara Falls. Well, if you watch my channel, you know that I take this route very, very often, and the flight flies directly over the falls, so I never get an opportunity to see it. Hopefully today we'll get some sort of vector to hopefully the south, and I'll be able to see the falls, but who knows? And my aircraft today will be an Airbus A320. It's another old one. It's just about 30 years old. That's old, but these airplanes, Delta does a great job keeping them look fresh and new on the inside.
So let's go through the door at the newly renamed Gate 83 at Terminal D.
All right, we are on our way to runway 4, Pelham climb. Here I come.
As always, I am all eyes out the window on this plane. Ground crews are loading the bags and the cockpit crew is planning our flight.
Okay, we're all set for our climb out off of runway 4. I'm excited about this.
On the ground, the area around our aircraft is being cleared so we can safely push back right at our scheduled departure time, and once the area behind us is completely clear, we push back under the guidance of the terminal's ramp controller, located in the small tower above the terminal. Once we're in position to taxi, the tow bar is removed and we're ready to start our engines. Now under the control of LaGuardia Ground Control, we taxi out of the ramp onto the active taxiway, and we can see an arrival to runway 31 out the window. We'll be paralleling runway 31 for some time before turning to the left to get to runway 4. Now, this video is about our climb out on the Pelham climb, so I want to talk about our departure airspace for a little bit. The Pelham climb calls for a straight out departure off of runway 4 over the Bronx. The Bronx's airspace commonly accommodates LaGuardia departures, but it's not restricted to just flights leaving LaGuardia. Flights departing Newark Airport headed to the northeast also share the same airspace as LaGuardia departures, as they also fly over the Bronx. This means that there's some conflict in the airspace. Austrian Airlines Flight 90 is a Boeing 777 from Newark to Vienna, Austria, and is about to take off from Newark Airport now. Let's listen to the tower controller issue takeoff clearance to Austrian Flight 90.
Austrian 90 Heavy, 13408, gust 16, runway 4 left, clear for takeoff.
Runway 4 left, clear for takeoff, Austrian 90 Heavy.
That was Austrian Flight 90 on the ground in Newark getting cleared for takeoff. Once that airplane becomes airborne, the pilot will talk to a departure controller handling flights leaving Newark while the plane heads to the northeast. Once closer to Manhattan, the pilot will then switch radio frequencies to the controller who handles departures leaving LaGuardia because the flight is entering LaGuardia's airspace. Not only is the flight entering LaGuardia's departures airspace, but it's flying in the exact area that departures climb in over the Bronx off of runway 4, which points to the Bronx. Just a few minutes later, while getting closer to runway 4, I was able to see the Austrian 777 from the window of my airplane. Let's listen to the pilot of Austrian 90 check in with the controller handling LaGuardia departures.
Good evening, Austrian 90 Heavy, 4000 for 5000.
Austrian 90 Heavy, turn right heading 090, maintain 10,000.
Heading 090, climb to maintain 10,000, Austrian 90 Heavy.
That's Austrian Flight 90 right there. The controller issued the pilot a turn for separation from other flights headed the same way, and the pilot was told to climb to 10,000 feet. For flights that are taking off on runway 4, the controller must ensure that they're told to climb to an altitude below this 777. LaGuardia departures can get clearance to climb to altitudes as high as 15,000 feet, but will be assigned a lower altitude and clear of Newark departures like this one, if there are any at the time. You can be sure that the most recent LaGuardia departure is being given a restricted altitude until clear of this 777. We're getting close to the runway, so let's listen in to the LaGuardia Airport Tower Controller.
United 1488, LaGuardia Tower, runway 4, line up and wait, traffic will land 31.
Runway 4, line up and wait, United 1488.
As that American airplane that we saw takes off, an aircraft on final approach to runway 31 decides that they need to abandon the approach.
Tower, Brickyard 4604, going around runway 31.
Brickyard 4604, LaGuardia Tower. Traffic is an Airbus just departing runway 4. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain 2000.
Traffic's on site, runway heading, climb maintain 2000, Brickyard 4604.
The arriving flight is immediately made aware of the American Airbus that just took off. This puts some strain on the operation. The United airplane can't take off until the missed approached aircraft is clear of the airport, and now the controller in the surrounding airspace has to fit another airplane into the mix of arrivals after having already separated everybody. The tower controller is now going to give the missed approach aircraft some more instructions and then tell American to finally contact departure control.
Brickyard 4604, flighting 340.
Heading 340, Brickyard 4604.
Brickyard 4604, climb and maintain 3000.
Climb maintain 3000, Brickyard 4604.
American 2303, contact near departure.
Okay, American 2303.
So why did that airplane abandon the approach? Well, the controller wants to know too, so she asks her.
Brickyard 4604, what was the reason for the missed approach?
We were unstable, Brickyard 4604.
Brickyard 4604, traffic at your 12 o'clock and 4 miles is a helicopter 1500, no delayed 2.
We're climbing, Brickyard 4604.
And Brickyard 4604, just to verify, climb and maintain 3000.
Climbing to 3000, Brickyard 4604.
Brickyard 4604, contact New York approach.
The controller pointed out a helicopter nearby and asked the pilot to climb and contact the next controller who can vector her back into LaGuardia for a second attempt. Okay, a lot happened there, but the United plane on runway 4, as well as our plane, must wait on the ground until the unexpected situation is fully worked out. If I had known that that airplane was abandoning the approach, I would have turned the camera to the right to catch a glimpse of it. The airspace of the Bronx is now getting very crowded, and a few minutes ago, United Flight 956, a Boeing 767 headed to Geneva, Switzerland, took off from Newark Airport, and because the flight is headed to the northeast, it has to take the same path that Austrian 777 took a few minutes ago. This means more conflict between LaGuardia departures and Newark departures over the Bronx. The United Airbus on runway 4 in front of us is now cleared for takeoff, and as we get into position on runway 4 behind United, United Flight 956 contacts the departure controller for LaGuardia departures.
United 956 Heavy, 4000 for 5000, afternoon.
United 956 Heavy, climb to 10,000, direct to Merritt.
10,000, direct Merritt, United 956 Heavy.
United Flight 956 is now flying to the northeast over the Bronx, climbing to 10,000 feet. With a gap between arrivals on runway 31, the LaGuardia Tower Controller issues our flight clearance for takeoff on runway 4 into the same airspace that United Flight 956 is flying in.
Delta 687, wind 34014, runway 4 cleared for takeoff.
Delta 687, runway 4 clear for takeoff.
7,001 feet of runway is available for our takeoff roll. Let's head to Minneapolis. Once we take off, we'll be told to contact the departure controller, but I want to brief you now on what to expect. Once we switch to the departure frequency, we'll hear the controller talk to the flight in front of us, United Flight 1488, climbing to 6,000 feet. This flight is being given a stepped climb to avoid United Flight 956 that's transversing the airspace. Once we check in with the departure controller, we're only going to be allowed to climb to 7,000 feet because of United Flight 956, which will be passing above us. Now, the LaGuardia Tower Controller is going to tell us to switch to the departure controller. Let's listen in as the pilot changes radio frequencies.
Delta 687, contact near departure today.
Delta 687, good day.
United 1488, turn left heading 320, maintain 6,000.
320, 6000, United 1488.
As we look at the College Point neighborhood of Queens, we call the departure controller.
Departure, good afternoon, Delta 687, well, you were passing 800 for 5,000, heading 040.
Delta 687, radar contact, maintain 7,000.
7,000, Delta 687.
We're told to climb to 7,000 feet under United Flight 956, and I've pointed the camera up so we can see an arriving flight to LaGuardia from the north as it sets up to fly over the airport before turning around to land. Also on this frequency is the flight that flew the missed approach before. The controller will talk to her now, as well as the United flight that took off in front of us.
Brickyard 4604, turn right heading 220.
Heading 220, Brickyard 4604.
United 1488, turn left heading 290.
Left 290, United 1488.
As we fly by the Throgs Neck neighborhood of the Bronx, the controller informs United 956 about general aviation traffic in the area and informs the general aviation flight about United 956.
United 956, heavy traffic 11 o'clock, 8 miles south-southeast on Caravan, 10,800 PSI.
Okay, that's the traffic, United 956.
5 Bravo Tango, traffic 2 o'clock, 7 northeast on heavy Boeing, out of 9 to 10,000.
Okay, 5 Bravo Tango, we have traffic in sight link to start a right turn back into Orange.
Correct, 5 Bravo Tango, pursuit is deployed.
Remember the United flight that took off in front of us on runway 4? Well, he's now clear of United 956 and is instructed to climb higher now.
United 1488, climb and maintain 15,000.
15,000, United 1488.
With United 956 now at 10,000 feet, we're told to climb to 9,000 feet.
Delta 687, turn left heading 320, climb and maintain 9,000.
Left turn 320, 9,000, Delta 687.
We were also told to turn left towards our departure fix. The flight behind us on runway 4 has just taken off. Notice how the controller clears this flight to 15,000 feet because United 956 is now far away from LaGuardia's departure airspace so that no conflict is present.
Departure number 4815, 1,400, climbing 5,000.
Number 4815, need a departure to contact, climb and maintain 15,000.
I maintain 15,000, number 48.
Both United flights are leaving the controller's airspace, so the controller tells each of them to switch to the next controller's airspace frequency.
United 956, heavy contact departure 118, 17, 1817.
1817, take care, United 956.
United 1488, contact 12085.
12085, United 1488.
We're now clear of United Flight 956 as it passes above us, so the controller clears us to 15,000 feet. And as this is happening, I was able to see United Flight 956 above us as it continues on towards Europe.
Delta 687, climb and maintain 15,000, good rate through 10.
Up to 15,000, good rate through 10, Delta 687.
Delta 687, turn 20 degrees left, expect traffic 12 o'clock and 5, northbound to Caravan, sitting on another.
Okay, 20 left, Delta 687.
It was nice to get that 20-degree turn to the left for traffic so I could see the United Heavy Jet. So the departure controller kept quite busy during the time we entered his airspace. 2 flights from LaGuardia were restricted in altitude due to the United flight from Newark passing through his airspace, and the flight that flew the missed approach before we took off was also occupying his airspace and needed to be fit back into the sequence of arriving flights to LaGuardia. We're flying over Westchester County, approaching the Hudson River. The Bronx, Queens, and Manhattan are on the left side of the airplane. If you watch my video called LaGuardia Airport's Pelham Climb, published on February 7th, 22, you can see what the view was like while sitting on the left side of the airplane. That flight flew a very similar route to this one. We're now clear of the traffic that the controller had us turn to the left to avoid, so we're told to turn back to the right, and as we leave his airspace, we can switch to another frequency.
Delta 687, stopping all factors, turn right heading 330, contact 11817.
1817 and a heading of 330, Delta 667, good day.
This concludes the initial climb out for our flight today. We're now headed in the general direction of our initial departure fix of Gale, which is near Goshen, New York. From there, we proceed over upstate New York and fly directly towards Niagara Falls on the border between the United States and Canada. We'll fly into Canadian airspace for a bit before returning to the U.S. airspace. While over upstate New York, I was served a full meal since my seat was in the first class cabin, and as always when I fly this route, we flew directly over Niagara Falls, so I didn't get to see it. At least I was able to see a picture of it in the terminal at LaGuardia before my flight. The rest of the flight was uneventful, and I wasn't able to capture any air-to-air videos, and for the most part, there were clouds below us. Before I knew it, it was time to start on down to the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. Approach control began to set us up for an approach to runway 12 left. The weather in Minneapolis was less than ideal with overcast skies and light rain. Before I knew it, we were on the ground and taxiing to our gate.
All right, I am on the ground here at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. As always, a lovely flight from LaGuardia. I really enjoyed that climb out off of runway 4. Got some great views of the coastline of the Bronx, and it was really interesting to see how we fit underneath the Newark departures. Great flight. I'm in the long corridor in the C concourse at Minneapolis Airport, and one thing that I really like to look at when I'm here is the art display, and I'm really liking this piece of art over here. This is the airport runway configuration. We just landed on runway 12 left, which is right over here, and then we taxied around the terminal area to the gate. Pretty neat. All right, well, my flight is all over. It was a fantastic flight. I want to thank you so much for watching my video today. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, please consider subscribing by clicking on the subscribe button below, hit the bell button, hit the like button, and be assured that I'm going to provide a new video to you very soon. Thanks, everybody.